Hello YouTube. In this hypertrophy series, I'm finally going to breach the topic of tonnage and its importance. Because I use the term all the time, I introduced it already, but you might still be wondering why it is so important and why it seems to be my one obsession. And there's a reason behind it, and the reason is very easy to explain. I just want to make sure that it doesn't sound like a gimmick or something that I'm trying to push to look unique, because in my opinion, tonnage is in nature what is the most important aspect of programming and progression. It's not something that's just important to me, and across the board, I think that most people would agree if they understood what tonnage is and what stands behind it. So, in this episode, I'm going to basically recap everything I've been saying about tonnage in simple terms with examples that are clear and that are going to demonstrate what I mean. I personally feel like frequency, volume, and intensity come together to create tonnage, and that trying to isolate one of the three and say that it's the most important factor of hypertrophy is misguided, because it's separating a trinity that to me can only go together. And if you remove one aspect, you're not going to be able to get and to create quality tonnage. And that's something I've touched upon in the past. If you just do volume with high frequency, you're not doing any type of work in relevant intensity window. So yes, you're getting tonnage, but it's low quality tonnage. If you just do intensity and frequency, okay, now you have high quality tonnage, but how much do you really get? You're not getting any volume in, and so the volume of the tonnage is also low. Same logic for the frequency. If you're not able to replicate that accumulation of tonnage throughout the week, you're losing in terms of intensity because of the intense, the absolute and relevant intensity windows, and the amount of work you're able to do in a single day, as opposed to if it's split and spread throughout the week. So the three aspects have to coexist. And since they have to coexist, they also have to create what I would consider an overarching concept that is going to be the fruit of their union, and that is tonnage. And to prove to you that tonnage truly is the most important thing for natural bodybuilding and to grow your muscles, I want to think about what it means to accumulate tonnage. Because in reality, if you just look at reps and sets as volume, the amount of volume that you're going to do in a week or in a month is relevant because it's part of the training. But in the grand scheme of things, it's nothing. There is no week of training that is going to result in absolutely insane gains in terms of mass if you're natural. So that is a point of view that, in my opinion, is too narrow. It's not looking at the big picture. But to look at the big picture, you have to visualize volume as a quantity that is being versed, that is being transported into a bigger environment, a bigger recipient. And what is inside that recipient is tonnage. And tonnage accumulation starts the day you start training, and it grows, it grows, it grows. And I can tell you right now that the people, the naturals who have the best physiques, are people who have insanely high tonnage accumulations. It ranks in the millions of pounds. And you can't go around that. If you're natural, you truly cannot go around that. You're going to have to go through it. And that's the number one most important aspect of that tonnage idea that I'm trying to push on this channel: patience and time. You cannot force tonnage accumulation. And if you were to try to force it, you would fall into one of the three pitfalls I've already described. Either you would do work in high intensity windows all of the time, but you would barely be able to accumulate any tonnage, or you would try to just rep as much as possible, but it would be baby weight and it would be junk volume. And so you would really end up with a high tonnage accumulation that is not going to be really quality. Because at the end of the day, I've explained it before, just being able to add up numbers to your tonnage doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to make you grow. You could potentially go from 10 million to 100 million in terms of tonnage and make very little results if you followed something that was just 40 or 50 reps with baby weight. It's possible. It's an experiment that I hope no one is going to try and undergo, but it's possible. And so when we're talking about experiments, this is going to be extremely important for bodybuilding too, because it's going to help you understand the way you're supposed to train. I want you to think about two individuals, and they both start at the same amount of strength on the squat, like 100 pounds. One is going to go to 300 pounds, and the other is going to go to 300 pounds as well. Depending on the strategy that they apply to get to that strength, they're going to be completely different in terms of muscle size. That is a fact. And the reason why is, one, for the most part, focused more on intensity and progression, the other one focused on tonnage accumulation. And the person that focused on tonnage accumulation is going to be bigger. Now, who got to the 300-pound squat first? The guy who focused on intensity, because he focused his mind on a strength goal. And it's the reason why bodybuilders shouldn't shoot for strength and shouldn't care about strength. It's a faulty mindset to pursue if your goal is size, because you're going to end up training like a powerlifter, and you're going to end up having a lot of strength, but not a lot of muscles to show for it, and you're going to feel disappointed by your results. And the reason why is you forgot about tonnage. And to me, tonnage, that's what I think about, that's what I focus on. Every single instant, every single application of programming that I use in my training leads to tonnage. Like we say, tous les chemins mènent à Rome, in my language, which means that if you're doing something in the gym, I can tell you for a fact it's tied to tonnage. Because at the end of the stream, when all of the streams meet volume, intensity, frequency, baseline, intensity windows, when all of that meets, at the end, it's tonnage. And if you were to try and visualize that in terms of metaphors, well, I would say that all of these principles are like streams, and they all go into the sea. They all go into the ocean, and the ocean is tonnage. And if you think about it in terms of numerical values, it also makes a ton of sense, because all of these streams carry a certain amount of number, a certain amount of pounds that they add up to your training. And where do they go? They go into the big lake, the big recipient of volume, of pounds, which is your tonnage accumulation. That's where it all hangs out. That's where it accumulates. And this accumulation makes you big. That's what matters. And focusing on that concept overall is going to avoid a lot of pitfalls for you, because you see it a lot. You see people who are going to push certain concepts and say, okay, focus on this and you'll get big. Focus on that and you'll get big. And I've said it at the start, that's ignoring too many things. If you only talk about tonnage in that aspect, you cannot ignore anything else, because without one or the other concept, tonnage cannot exist. So you have to understand the globality of programming to be able to understand the globality of tonnage. And that's really what I'm going to leave you with here in this video, because since I'm going to continue using the term, I want you to understand not only the concept behind it and the logic, which is a very easy calculus, it's volume and intensity, it's the amount of reps you do and time the weights you do, but I also want you to understand the end goal of it. Because if you're just pushing tonnage, but you don't, even if you understand how to push it, but you don't know why, you might start to lose sight of the goal. The goal is size, because that's what tonnage is going to get you over time, size. But that's only if you apply that pursuit within the parameters that I described in this hypertrophy series. And so now that this has been said, I'm going to go into more advanced principles, more advanced applications of tonnage progression and accumulation, because I think we're something like 60 episodes in, and we're going to keep going. But everything I'm going to start talking about now is going to be niche. It's going to be very key. And if you're a beginner, you might not need it. But if you're just intellectually curious, or you're more advanced and you want to learn more, then stay tuned, because that's going to keep happening on this channel every single week. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.